I never thought I'd be in a place like this. A cabin, far off in the woods, miles away from the nearest road or town. I had come to get away from everything: work, people, the constant noise that had started to wear me down. The cabin seemed like the perfect escape, the kind of place where you could leave behind all the stress and recharge. But something about this place felt off from the moment I arrived. The first thing that struck me was how quiet it was. The kind of silence that presses down on you, heavy and dense. No birds, no rustling leaves, just the sound of my own breath and footsteps on the gravel driveway leading up to the front door. I set down my bags and surveyed the surroundings. The cabin itself was old, its wooden walls weathered and worn. A simple structure with a slanted roof, no porch lights, and a lone chimney that appeared unused. It wasn't charming. It wasn't picturesque. It was just isolated. Perfect for someone trying to get away from the world. I pushed open the door and stepped inside. The air inside was stale, like it hadn't been opened in years. The floorboards creaked under my feet as I moved around, exploring the small space. It was sparsely furnished: an old, ragged couch, a couple of mismatched chairs, a small wooden table with a few dusty glasses. A fireplace sat in the corner, and I wondered when the last time it had been used was. There was no electricity, no modern comforts, just the basics: a gas stove, a sink, and a wood-burning stove for heat. I was going to have to chop wood to keep the place warm. That's how isolated this place was. That I wasn't used to this kind of solitude. I've always had a sense of being around people, noise, activity, and movement. But here, there was nothing but the wind and the trees and the deep silence. And the silence, as I quickly realized, wasn't peaceful. It felt suffocating, like it was holding something back, something that was waiting for the right moment to emerge. The first night passed without incident. I made a fire, cooked something simple, and settled in with a book. The wind howled outside, but inside it was warm and cozy. But around midnight, I heard something, a low thudding noise. At first, I thought it was just the house settling, but the thud came again, and then again. Slowly, the sound grew louder, almost rhythmic. I could feel my pulse quicken as I stood, straining to listen. It sounded like it was coming from beneath the floor. That I couldn't shake the feeling that something was underneath me. It wasn't a mouse or a rat. It wasn't an animal. It was something else. The sound didn't make sense, and I couldn't figure out what could possibly be making it. The wind outside was starting to pick up, pushing against the cabin with a force that made the walls groan. I checked the windows, half expecting someone to be standing out there, but the darkness outside was impenetrable. Nothing. I turned on the flashlight and crept toward the source of the noise: the old wooden floorboards. They looked harmless enough, but when I knelt down to listen, the thudding came again. Now, it was almost right under me. I ran my fingers over the floor, searching for a loose board. I felt something strange, an indentation in the wood, like a gap. I grabbed a crowbar that I had found earlier and pried the board up. Beneath it, there was a small, cramped space, too small for a person, but big enough for something. Something I couldn't see. I hesitated, the hair on the back of my neck standing up. I didn't know what I expected to find. Maybe a rat's nest. Maybe a hidden stash of something strange. But what I found wasn't anything I could have anticipated. There was a small, rusted metal box. It was old, covered in dust, and barely visible in the dim light from the flashlight. I reached for it with shaking hands, feeling the weight of the